Whoa. I know. I'm an addict in recovery, and my name is David. Hey, family. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm excited about being clean, and I'm excited about being a part of this awesome event. Thanks to those who invited me, who offered me an opportunity to be here. And I realized that there are many people in our fellowship all across the country who could have been here today. There are a lot of members of our fellowship today with 30 years clean or more. And the higher power saw fit for me to be here. So I'm truly grateful, thankful, and I'm blessed. I believe, obviously, that somebody, the higher power or somebody, thinks that I have something worth sharing. So I'm excited about being here. I also want to say that I'm nervous, but that wasn't the case when I got here this morning. I was like, just like, this ain't no big thing. And then the closer it got to 4 o'clock, it hit me, and I realized that I'm nervous. But I want to talk about the gifts of recovery because I have a lot. And I know we all do. And I said to myself, what an appropriate topic for a brother like me. And the reality is that I didn't even know what a gift was when I got clean, but since I've been a part of this fellowship, I realized how blessed I've been. I have a nephew I just want to tell you about real quickly. He and I were the same age. I was like less than 2 years older than him. And he and I used to get loaded together when we were kids. We used to shoot heroin together when we were kids. And in June of 1991, he died from complications due to AIDS as a result of being a dope shooter. The last time I used was July 17th, 1984. Actually, July 16th, 1984. And I used with my nephew and one other brother. And the other brother just finished doing 25 to life sentence. He came home a couple years ago. And me, I don't have HIV, and I've never been to prison. And so if I don't say anything else, I can say how grateful I am, or how blessed I am, and all those things. I mean, so I just wanted to tell you that story. And real quickly, I want to tell you about my experiences when I first got clean. I had been in treatment once before for a short period of time. When I got to treatment, they told me I needed to be there for a whole year. And I told them it was crazy. I said, I ain't no addict. And I left treatment against medical advice, and I ended up in Atlanta. I went to treatment in a little city called Holly, Michigan. It's just north of Detroit. And while I was in treatment in Holly, I learned about Alcoholics Anonymous because they took us to AA meetings. And one day I got sick and tired of being sick and tired, and I called the AA hotline, and they told me where a meeting was. And I lived in Decatur with my sister, and the meeting was in Atlanta. Now, that was back in the days when Decatur and Atlanta were a long ways away. They actually border one another. And I got to the meeting, it was all white meeting. And I'd never been around that many white people before. And not only was it an all white meeting, but it was an all white gay men's meeting. And I think I shared for what must have been an eternity. They were doing this, and I didn't know what that meant back then. And after the meeting, these two guys came up to me, and they were holding hands, and they had these big old smiles on their faces. Now, mind you, I had never been this close to white people, other than the police. And they both reached out, and they hugged me and said, we think you might feel a little bit more comfortable in Narcotics Anonymous. And I tell you that part of my story because not only had I never, ever been that close to white people before, but white people were my least favorite people in the whole wide world at that time in my life. And my second least favorite people in the world were gay people. I was as prejudiced as they come, and I was a classic homophobe when I got here. And the higher power used my two least favorite people in the whole wide world to introduce me to Narcotics Anonymous. And I'm here to tell you that my life hasn't been the same since. I am so happy that I'm no longer a homophobe. I'm so happy that I'm no longer prejudiced. Those things, those changes in my life happened as a result of being a member of Narcotics Anonymous. Whatever kind of power it takes to make those changes in my life, I don't possess. Those kind of blessings, and the fact that I'm neither prejudiced nor a homophobe, are blessings that come only by the grace of a power greater than myself. I am convinced of it. Ain't no doubt in my mind that I did this on my own. I did this as a result of being surrounded by wonderful people like you all. I want to tell you that the first meeting I went to in Atlanta, I walked into the NA meeting, I walked into it. It was at 1647 McClendon Avenue, the old Highland Club. And when I walked in there, my anniversary is July 18th, 1984. It was one of the hottest days of my life. I had never experienced heat like that before because I grew up in the Midwest. It was hot. And I thought I had to dress up to go to the meeting, so I had on a pair of wool pants and a turtleneck. And I walked in the meeting, and I was late, and I was sweating. And there was a bunch of white people sitting on the floor talking about God. And I said, oh, no. A bunch of hippies and I talking about God. And I turned around, and somebody said, are you looking for NA? And I said, yeah. And they said, this is it. And there was one brother there. His name is Van Goodman, Van G. He's in that big meeting in heaven right now. And I ran up to him after the meeting. I said, yo, bro. I said, where are the black people at? And he said, huh? He said, I said, the black people. And he said, you looking at them? I said, oh, no. And then I asked him, I said, well, what about this God stuff? I'm sure I said something like, what about this God shit? That was back in the days when I used to curse him. And he said, huh? I said, dude, we got to talk about God all the time. Now, God was my third least favorite person in the whole wide world. White people, gay people, and God. I don't like any of them. And he said, I tell you what, if you use that as an excuse to leave, the fact that we talk about God or the fellowship that's mostly all white, he said, I guarantee that dope will chase you back. He said, I suggest you give yourself a break. That's what he told me. He said, look at it as an investment. And I had no idea what he meant by that. I didn't know what an investment was. I came from the streets. I was an IV drug user. All my friends were criminals. I had dropped out of high school. I quit school to shoot dope for a time. I didn't know what any of those fancy words meant, but I kept coming back. And something magical happened. My best friend turned out to be a white person. It was Ray. He asked him to be my sponsor. He shared like a brother. And I could identify with his stories, and I asked him to be my sponsor. And he took me through the steps and genuinely cared about me and loved me. And all this stuff was Greek. I had never had these experiences before. I had 5 brothers and 5 sisters. I had 10 siblings. I had never, and we all got the same mom and daddy. That's important to add in the black community because when you got that many kids, usually it's like at least 9 different daddies. And I can say that because I'm African American. But I'm proud to say that we all had the same mom and the same daddy. And I didn't get that kind of love from my brothers and sisters. And this man loved me, hugged me, told me that he loved me, said, I'll love you till you learn how to love yourself. And he said, if you have any problems with me being white, just imagine me being Puerto Rican. That's what he told me. So, and it was cool. And when we met somebody who had 6 years clean or 7 years clean, that was a long time. It was like, how in the world do you get 6 years clean or 7 years clean? Or why would anybody want to stay clean that long? That wasn't my plan when I got here. I wanted to go back using dope on the weekends. And so that was like a long time. And to be at an event this weekend with a whole bunch of people who have 30 years clean and more is absolutely awesome. And for those of you who decided not to come, I saw on Facebook, somebody said this was about ego. And I said to myself, am I about ego? I think I got an ego, but I really don't know for sure. I try not to have an ego. Humility has been like one of the best gifts I've gotten since I've been a part of this fellowship. I'm a regular member of Narcotics Anonymous. I show up 15 minutes early to my home group with 34 years clean. And I sit up front and I help set up. I stay 15 minutes late in my home group and I help clean up. I got a sponsor. I practice these principles as best as I can. I got a home group. I got a service position. Can you believe that? I got a service position on the area level. I mean, to show up in my area once a month, man, it's painful. I'm like, God, do I really got to go this week, this month? That's hard work, man. In my area, I don't know about your area, but I'm committed. I show up and I lead by example. People say, David, you got 34 years clean. Why do you get to the meeting early? Or why do you still go to meetings? Or why do you sit up front? Or why do you still call your sponsor? Because I remember what it was like for me when I surrendered. I remember what it was like for me that day I walked through the door. And I want to be here because I know that somebody's going to walk through that door for the very first time. Sick and tired of being sick and tired. Not knowing that there's a different way to live. And I want to be there to hug them, tell them I love them, give them my phone number, and to tell them to keep coming back. And you know what I know about that? I know it works. You know how I know it works? Because it worked for me. I'm telling you, I've seen it work for thousands of others. But I just want to share a couple other gifts that have come as a result of my recovery. And I would be remiss if I leave this part out. I told you I was a hope to die dope fiend. I'm a high school dropout. When I had about a couple years clean, Class Little, who was another one of those giants in recovery, who was in a big meeting in heaven, took me down to Georgia State, Georgia Tech, and signed me up for a GED. And I was sitting in class, and the teacher would say, we're going to talk about nouns and verbs today. And I raised my hand and said, what is a noun and what is a verb? The true story. And I got a GED. And I was so proud of me. I was the happy, I shared for a whole month. Every time we got to a meeting, I was the first person to put my hand up. I was like this before the meeting even got started, Kevin. I was like this for the whole entire meeting. I wanted to talk about how proud I felt. I mean, the fact that I had a GED was something to be proud of. I quit school because being in school was interfering with me being a dope fiend. It didn't make no sense. I was going to overdose and die or end up in prison for the rest of my life. I already knew that. So I didn't need to be wasting no time in high school. And I have an associate's degree, social work. I have an undergraduate degree. I have a master's degree from one of our nation's leading universities. And I have a PhD from the University of Georgia. And I've literally gone from being I certainly don't say that to brag or for the applause, even though I've learned how not to turn that down today. But I say that because I'm telling you, one day I got a call from Columbus, Ohio. My brother said he heard about my story. He was 29 years in recovery. He said, guess what I'm doing? I said, well, he said, I'm getting me a GED because I heard your experiences. So I share that part because I suspect that it might motivate somebody or encourage somebody or let somebody know that whatever it is that you hoped for during your addiction that was robbed because of your addiction, if you believe in it today while you're clean, you can achieve those things. The other thing I want to tell you real quickly is that I've been blessed in that I got a chance to spend 4 months in South Africa as a graduate student, and I got a chance to help start Narcotics Anonymous in Durban, South Africa. And as a result of that experiences in 2004, when Narcotics Anonymous World Services decided to go to Africa for the first time, we have been emailing them, telling them about the recovery. They called me on the phone. They said, David, they said, Norris is finally going to Africa. And I was like, cool. And they said, we got a favor to ask. I was like, cool. I thought they were going to ask me if I would help connect them with some folks there. And they said, we want to know if you'll go with us. And I said, are you serious? Will I go with you? I said, when we leaving? And we spent 2 weeks in Johannesburg. Then we went to Cape Town. Then we went to Durban, South Africa, helping to grow Narcotics Anonymous on the continent of Africa. As a result of that experience, I've been asked to go to 5 or 6 different African countries. Many of you know this part of my story. Between 2010 and 2016, I spent several months traveling throughout the continent of Africa, mostly East Africa, but I went to one West African country, Ghana, helping to start Narcotics Anonymous. And I'll tell you this story real quickly. Then in 2010, I think it was, I got a chance to go to a place called Zanzibar. It's a little bitty island country this big. Before me, there was a brother, his name is Andre, he's from Detroit. He had went with the same group, and he had left an NA basic text there. So when I get there with them, they sitting in a circle with English basic text, having an NA meeting in Swahili. That's what I said. And so I did what I thought was the right thing to do. I got on the email and I started sending all some messages. And they said, no, David, it ain't happening, because if it was, we would know about it. I said, what's talking about it ain't happening? I said, I'm looking at it. So I videoed a meeting. And for those of us who were at the World Convention in San Diego, you may recall seeing a meeting of these African women sitting in a circle talking about how that was the video that I took of the sisters in Africa. I've been back, God only knows how many times. I helped start Narcotics Anonymous in several East African countries. And, you know, I said, God, I said, oh, you sure you got the right person? I said, you remember me? I dropped out of high school. I'm a heroin addict. He said, David, I can't think of a better person to send than you. He said, what kind of message did you said, you got an awesome message. You can let them know how that recovery works. And so I'm proud to say that I'm a part of this worldwide fellowship, that I've discovered that Narcotics Anonymous just don't exist in Atlanta, Georgia, or even in the United States, that I've been in NA meetings in several different parts of the country. And I'm happy to know that when I go, I practice this one humble thing. If I don't do anything else, I never tell people how it works. I try to show them how it works. Because one of the experiences that some people have had in other parts of the world is that people, usually from the States, will come there and tell people what they need to do. And what's real is that I can travel to a faraway land and pretend like I'm the perfect NA recovering addict. But what's real is I come with a whole bunch of flaws. And my friends who in Atlanta know me. You know, they know that David do a lot of stuff, but David is far from perfect. You know, so I travel when I travel. I'm happy that I don't try to tell people what to do, or I just go there and show them what to do, show them some experiences, share with them what it was like for me. And in 2016, remember I told you in 2010, we went to Zanzibar. I went to Zanzibar. In 2016, I went to an East African Convention of Narcotics Anonymous. It was in Zanzibar. There was 500 people who stood up with a year clean, with at least a year clean. This was in 2016, and we started in 2010. So yeah, I know this program works. I've seen it work. I know that the higher power will use me to help other people find recovery. I don't care where it might be. It could be anywhere. It could be in Atlanta. It could be somewhere in the States, or it could be somewhere in a foreign country. As long as I remain humble and teachable and allow God to use me as a vessel and not pretend like I'm one of those kind of addicts who know everything. So I'm excited about being clean. I'm thankful that I got a chance to be here today. I can tell you that I was nervous when I first started. I'm probably not nervous right now. I am excited to hear Kermit come up here and share. And before I close, I just want to say this, that he and I met before. And it was at a non-NA event. As a result of being in recovery and going to school and doing some things differently, I was awarded in 2002. I was one of the very first recipients to receive an award. It's called America Honors Recovery Award. There were 6 of us, I think, from across the country who were chosen in that position. And one of the other brothers was a sponsee, Kermit. And Kermit was at that event supporting his brother. And all my brothers and sisters came to that event. It was in Washington, D.C. And I stood up at the mic and cried like a baby and just thanked everybody, including the higher power, for making it possible for me to turn my life around. I remember I used to give my mother all kinds of fits. I didn't know this, but she couldn't sleep at nights wondering about me. And she told me one time, she said, I got 11 kids, and at night I try to pray for all of y'all. But I'm gonna be honest with you, I can't always remember all y'all names, but there was one that I never ever forgot, and that one was you. And I said, what'd you say? And she told me her story again, and then I realized why it is that I'm here today. It's because of my mother's prayers, and she was with me in Washington, D.C. when they honored me. So I'm excited about being clean, thankful to those who invited me to be a part of this, and I'm excited about hearing Kermit share. So thank you so much.